Sorry, kiddo. All right, that's it. I just set it up and then I'm gonna go. 46 minutes.
There's nothing additional other than what's been signed down the back that we have.
Oh, I can't always. It's a big idea. I tell you, man.
That's all that we have to do.
At least. You want just take the light on the sidewalk.
Attention, please, to while we were a work session, we're on to order. We'll have a motion later on to accept the lease contract term for the 2017 Dodge Charger with Fulton Bank. You have any discussion on that? No? Anybody?
So, just for everyone to remember, last month's meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the leases and which one to retain. Roseanne worked with Fulton Bank to get a modified lease agreement to reduce payment, the first payment, is that correct, Roseanne?
We would have to pay half immediately what was due, which would have been
So,
celebration.
This month was due $12,000 or approximately $13,000 for the Charger lease. Roseanne negotiated with them to modify the lease terms so we pay half of it now and then pay a monthly payment going forward so that it's not lump sum payments each year. Correct?
Yes.
And so it's just a modification of that lease to make it easier on the borough to meet the obligations which were the borough committed to take on last month. Speak up so I don't hear.
The first payment's due on the 10th, of that 6,000, because that was the original.
Okay.
So
if
we have to
everyone-
make a decision, because all the lease modification agreements have to be signed,
Okay,
if that's going to be accepted.
So in other words, we need to spread the payment out so we can afford it, so she was able to negotiate it, so we gotta sign the papers and approve it.
okay.
Right?
Okay, later there will be a motion to authorize Attorney Buffalino to proceed with the defense of the borough in counsel in regards to Susquehanna Realty suit. Any questions on that? Any problems?
Is that the, well, I technically recuse myself, but I'm just curious if that's the insurance paying for that, or is that the taxpayer?
So, without getting into the details, the borough turned the lawsuit over to its carrier. The carrier notified us that there was some coverage and has been assigned to Attorney Buffalino.
Any other questions? There will also be a motion to engage a letter with Protract and Associates for the 2017 audit. Any questions on that? Any problems? Okay, there will also be a motion to approve the pave cutting ordinance.
This is the ordinance that first reading was last month. Jimmy from the roads department looked it over as well as our engineer, so everyone's on board with it.
All right, Jimmy, you also got that agreement with the mulch for West Wyoming. You'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we're gonna look at it. Maybe it's better to even see with Mascaro if we can get weekly pickup what the price difference would be, you know what I mean? Like, be cheaper than having us go over there and do it labor-wise.
So everyone's aware, we canceled the agreement with West Wyoming to do their DPW work. That's gonna come up at April 24th, I believe. They've asked, as part of that, there was an agreement as well with West Wyoming to use their mulch pile. They've asked if we wanted to continue the agreement to use their mulch pile, and that's what Jimmy's taking a look at to see if, what those terms are, and if that's something that his crew can still handle. To go along with that, the school district also asked us to enter into an MOU with them regarding police use coverage up there. Police department's going to be looking at that to make sure that that's on par with what they want to do, or what they can do as well.
Any questions on that? So you guys are aware, I was contacted by the Attorney General's office. They've asked for the borough to voluntarily provide a list of documents to them. I'm asking the council to make a motion and authorize myself and Roseanne to voluntarily cooperate with the Attorney General's office and provide the records that they have requested. We need a motion on that.
I will need a motion from council on that, and that's not on the agenda, but I've asked someone make that motion to give us the authority. And then I'm going to ask Chris for an update on what grants Chris,
Also, we have, from the last meeting, there was, Diana reached out, asked to follow up with the EMS, and actually, the guys from Pittston are here, so they can answer some questions on that as well. You talked to them?
Yes, I talked to even Mayor Chief, came over to my house and I said, talk to him about how it's dispersed.
You personally talked to Pittston?
Not Pittston, no, my husband, I guess, was speaking with Mike about it.
Your husband was speaking with Mike?
Yes, yeah. And I talked to him, Matt came over about this.
Why would your husband speak? If we're asking, if you're the EMS chair, why would your husband contact Pittston?
He just was, talked to him about it, I don't know. He was telling him what he wanted me to know, find out about it, and he was talking to him.
Okay.
Someone else signed in? Okay, they have to sign in for the sheet.
No, it's okay, they signed up, yeah. Chris, could you give us an update on how things are going with the grants and what you do with us or what's
The
going
next
on?
upcoming grant is the CFA multimodal,
Okay,
and that's given by the Commonwealth Finance Agency, multimodal application. It's a very competitive grant. It's due in July. They just announced the awards in March for July of 18. You guys were not successful, but as I tell all my clients, continue in the process. It takes 2 or 3 applications to really start to get noticed with this whole thing. What's significant about this is that it's a zero match program, okay? And they're continuing that, but only if you're a municipality, I'm sorry. If the applicant is a municipality, it's a zero match from that perspective. So what we try to do is, you guys have a $500,000 LSA, which Darrell is working on right now with the final permitting with PennDOT, and then obviously from the costing point of view. What you can parallel the CFA grant with is basically the LSA will do all the underground work, and the CFA will do the road restoration, sidewalks, curbing, stuff like that. So what I'm suggesting to a council is to basically just reapply for the same application we did last year for this upcoming year.
does it need to be updated because of the fact that we got denied? Is there things that should be changed to?
The only thing about the update is work with the engineer on just updating the cost perspective. That's really the only thing. Motion, a resolution from that perspective. Nothing else.
So it'll be, we'd have to do a resolution to update the 2018 LSA grant,
CFA multimodal.
CFA multimodal tank to apply for it for the 2020.
2019, the application is due
Okay.
in July 19, and they will make the award in most likely 2020.
That's something that you and Darrell can coordinate?
Yes.
That's not an issue, Darrell?
Nope.
That's the LSA.
CFA,
CFA.
That's
multimodal.
Can you address also, a few meetings back, we had spoke, and I know you clarified it in email, but I had mentioned that the 17 audit wasn't done, and is that gonna hurt us down the road in applying? And it came back to bite us when we got an email that we were red flagged because our 2017 audit wasn't completed and they weren't gonna pay the Little League's grant money that they submitted reimbursement for. That's why tonight, we are going to approve ProShack to start the 17 audit and then immediately thereafter, hopefully start the 18. But that's the problem with what's been happening here. Stuff has not been being done the proper way, and it came back to bite us again. And luckily, it's only 1 year, and we're able to get it fixed, but, you know, this is the stuff we're trying to avoid as a borough, so that we don't hurt our chances of getting money.
Yes, what they do is, the mayor's right, you can move forward on the applications, but if you are awarded a grant and it comes time for reimbursement, that's when the Council of Government, DCD, will start to come down hard on boroughs to make them catch up on all the paperwork.
You didn't know, you should have known that, right?
Excuse me.
You should have known that, right?
We do their paperwork.
You should have known that the audit would hurt us if we didn't have the audit. The one meeting, you said it wouldn't hurt us.
This is a hurt application process. It it could potentially hurt you on a reimbursement.
But that's why we have the application. Yeah, it won't hurt you on the application until they look at it and say, oh, you didn't have your audit done, so it does hurt you. That's why,
No, it's two different things, Mike. We're talking about an application, you're talking about a reimbursement. We've been working with the borough now for about the last 2 years on this, and it's, fortunately or unfortunately, it's a standard process. And we've been working with DCD. All they basically say is, guys, give me a date. If you guys give us a date, you're gonna have to complete it. They work with you in that process.
So what you're saying is that once we approve moving forward with the 2017 audit, the reimbursements to the Little League will be issued?
They're actually in the process right now, DCD.
Oh, are you?
Yes,
They
they
gotta
work
tell them
it
that
out.
it was going to be
Yeah, I had to talk with Karen O'Neill from the DCED. She called me last week, and I had Proshak, they spoke to one another,
thank you for.
stating that she would go ahead and make sure that audit was done, and she would have that information in the system for us. So that way they can go forward with the release of the funds for the little bit.
So that could potentially affect us when you're working on the LSA grant and distribution goes through, if we're not up to date on our audit figures, right?
Well, you've already given the timeline right now, so it's
Yeah.
important that you,
It has to be done by August 29th with the
17,
17, and then by the end of the year with the 18.
Okay.
And she promised like when she did, they did talk to one another, that's why they lifted it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have lifted it.
Okay.
But they'll put it back on if that one audit isn't completed by August 29th.
yeah, the most important one is your 17 audit.
Right.
And Prochak's okay with that deadline?
She's the one who, they spoke to one another, and
Okay.
because I said, well, they're not gonna take my word for it, they wanted to speak to her, and, they emailed each other and spoke to one another, so everything is cleared up.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Be 5 minutes over.
Dan, you want to go over the findings of the EMS, so everyone's got an understanding?
Well, they're gonna basically say what I know about them, they have 24-hour coverage, they have more units, and as far as West Wyoming getting the calls, it goes into 911, and they have the ALS, whereas West Wyoming only has the BLS. And they decide which ones they're gonna call out. If it's more complicated, it's to GETSA. If it's not, it's West Wyoming. And West Wyoming is there from 6 in the morning till midnight. They don't have 24-hour coverage. And they're down several people, because some of the people left. One woman had a baby, another person went on to get a good job, because they weren't guaranteed so many hours.
So right now,
That's why it's like half and half. Right now, they're happy that it's like half and half West Wyoming, because it keeps them afloat, how things are. But,
I mean, what's in the best interest of our residents?
well,
If we're paying a fee, if they're paying a fee, we need to open this up and look at it. And I'm not saying Pittston, no offense, I'm not saying you're the answer, but if we're paying someone an ambulance fee and they're not providing us with the coverage that we need because they're using a backup,
Yeah.
I mean, you're the head of the EMS, so I'm asking you, do you think we should open this up and look at it or see what Pittston has to offer? Or?
if you want to do that, but I think West Wyoming, they provide a lot of services that if Pittston is out, they kind of go over to Exeter if they had to, because Exeter gave up their ambulance service, and I guess Pittston, you're located over there now.
We merged with Exeter. It was official as of April 1st. Process started last October. We merged with them last year, so we operate out of their former station on Lincoln Street in Exeter. In addition to our station.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mike? You want to say
Wants to-
of yourself?
Yeah.
Say what you.
Yeah, so I was speaking with Mayor Dominic. He asked us to come to the meeting and just talk a little bit about our service. We're an ALS, BLS service. We're headquartered in Pittston, but as I just mentioned a moment ago, we also have a station now at Exeter. We have at least 2 crews on duty around the clock, one of which is based in Pittston, the other is based in Exeter. During the daytime hours, we staff additional units as our staffing and as call volume dictates. Typically during the day, there'll be three units on duty. We're an ALS, BLS service, so we're what's known as a dual license service, which means that we can provide ALS or BLS service, and that's essentially what we do. We've been your ALS provider in Wyoming Borough for quite a number of years now, essentially since Medic 303 ceased doing business about 5 or 6 years ago. So we've been providing ALS service here, and then when West Wyoming is not available, we provide BLS service as well. We have transport-capable ambulances, so we're not what's sometimes called a chase vehicle. We have a transport-capable ambulance. We have 4 ambulances. Again, depending on staffing dictates whether they're staffed or not. And we also provide what we call special operations, which would be firefighter rehab, response to major incidents, mass casualties, that sort of thing. We have the capability to respond to those type of emergencies. We are still, we're a nonprofit organization. We are still technically a volunteer organization, but most of our staffing, frankly, now is paid staff. Our board of directors is volunteer. I'm a volunteer. But we do still have some people that participate in the organization as a volunteer. But by and large, most of our staffing is provided by paid staff. We have about 10 full-time employees now, a combination of EMTs and paramedics, and probably about 20 to 30 part-time staff. We do a subscription drive in the communities that we primarily serve, which would be Pittston City, Jenkins Township, Gatesville Borough, and now Exeter. And we provide ALS coverage to a number of other communities, as I mentioned, Wyoming and West Wyoming being 2 of them. That's pretty much a quick and dirty summary of what we do. I'm happy to answer any additional questions that we have. Ed Zafford, who is our chief, is here with me as well. He's our chief, he's a paramedic, he's our chief operational officer. He's been with us since we started our advanced life support program back in 2011. We've been here coming to Wyoming since, I believe it was 2014 or 2015 that we've been coming here. Happy to answer any questions or concerns, or any questions about our subscription drive that anybody might have.
Well, that's sort of how this whole thing kicked off, is a lot of people are reaching out to me saying, why is Pittston in Wyoming if we're paying West Wyoming to do our ambulance? And that's why I reached out to you, and that's how this all came to light.
But I guess from what I understand, you pay that $40 fee, right? When they have the West Wyoming ambulance, they come over and that's all it is. I mean, they bill the insurance company and that's it. They said sometimes these elderly people, they're been getting picked up 3-4 times a month. And then that doesn't get, they don't have to worry about it being, a big.
No, what I'm saying is we have to make sure we have coverage.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that they're not there 24/7.
Yeah, that's why, they come down. That's why it's, they're only there from 6 to midnight. And that's why it's overlapping. He asked me how come it was like half and half. And that's why, it's because when they're not there, then you guys get called out to come down. Or a lot of times you come down if they're called out.
Right.
You come down just
So it's essentially, that's called a 2-tiered system, which is somewhat common in northeastern Pennsylvania. Essentially, if a BLS ambulance is covering a particular municipality and the call requires advanced life support care for a more serious call, a heart attack, a stroke, severe trauma, that type of thing, then the BLS service, an ALS service would have to be dispatched with the BLS service, which is why a lot of times people ask, well, why were 2 ambulances sent to my house? Or why were there 2 ambulances on the call? That's why, because it was an advanced life support call and it requires an advanced life support ambulance to respond with the basic life support ambulance. What happens is if the basic life support ambulance isn't in service, then we get dispatched and handle the entire call, which means that the patient would be put into our ambulance and we would provide care in our ambulance. So that's what you're describing is a 2-tier system.
Yeah.
I guess all I'm trying to say is this, in a perfect world, I would love to have an ambulance back in Wyoming. Obviously, we can't afford that right now, but we owe it to the residents to make sure that whoever's our primary person is the best that we have. So, I mean, again, I'm teeing it up to you because this is your committee. I think it would behoove the council to look into it and make sure that we have the best person. You know, it's a little upsetting to me that, you know, you reached out to one, but had your husband reach out to the other. He's not a member of council, you are. Like, I don't know, it's just weird to me, but
May I say something?
you certainly
He's my
are.
friend, or at least I'm friendly with him. I talked to him a lot of times. I wrote a major story, a feature story for the newspaper about Greater Vincent Animals. Talked to him at Lynn.
Okay.
I see him all the time, we're friendly, so I talked to him, that's all. And I
Are
knew
you
all
the head of
about
the
it.
EMS committee or no?
Pardon
Are
me?
you the head of the EMS committee for the borough?
I can't make phone calls?
You can make phone calls, but if someone's gonna come and report as the head of the EMS, don't
She
you
was
feel
sitting
that?
right beside me, she heard the whole thing.
Oh, okay. I just find it odd, I don't know, I figured that's, you know, I didn't, it's a little odd to me. I don't have my wife make phone calls for me for mayor stuff, so.
I helped my wife.
The point has been made, I
He helped
think
me.
we should move on. So with regard to Mike and the Pittston City Ambulance Association, does anyone have any more questions? I just have one. Mike, if the council wanted to switch from West Wyoming to Pittston City as the primary provider, what would it need to do, or how could that transition occur?
It's Greater Pittston.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should know that.
You should, I would disappoint. If anybody has any questions, Lars has all my contact information, so I would be the person to talk to. So Lars has all of my contact information, both at the office and my personal information. So I'm happy to.
If in the future we want you as full-time, just say, you know, we were able to provide like a building, somebody volunteered a building over here, is that a possibility?
Certainly something that I'm not in a position to make any promises at this point, but I mean, it's certainly something that we would be willing to discuss. As I mentioned a moment ago, we do have an ambulance in Exeter, right on Lincoln Street, which is right off the Avenue. So, but I'm always willing to hear anyone. I'm on Pittston City Council, so I'm certainly willing to discuss anything with the fellow elected official, whether it's about the ambulance or otherwise.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay? All right, thank you. Thanks. You guys need anything else from us? Excuse ourselves. Okay, thank you.
There was I got a complaint today from a resident about feral cats on 3rd Street. Has they spoken to you in the past about it? On 58 3rd Street, they always have issues with feral cats.
It's been going on for years. We've had cops there, we've had SPCA.
Is there anything that, I know, I'm trying to think back to that meeting a little bit ago where we signed an agreement with the SPCA regarding that.
Yeah, the agreement with the SPCA is that anybody here that has problems with cats can take a cat, they catch it in a trap.
So they have,
They have to do everything. They don't supply anything. The school district is the same way. They don't supply anything. You have to take the cats down there.
There's some other issues around there too, so I'll follow up with Harry Smith on that, but I wanted to, I know that one of you guys talked about the SPCA, I think, so.
Now, if the property is a mess and stuff, that's a little bit more.
Okay.
That's the one in 3rd Street. Right?
Yeah.
It's been a problem. I mean, there's always complaints there, and he said, they're not mine, and he feeds them. I know the cops have been after him a number of times, and he says, no, I just feed them, right?
There's also some restrictions on who can and cannot trap cats. I'm not exactly sure what they are. I think that you're required to be certified to trap cats. So that'd be something you never look into.
Certified cat.
I don't know. Trust me, I don't understand that portion, but there's
It's probably the humane office. It's probably, it's not certified to be a cat, trap animals in general, the humane officer.
All right, I'll follow up and then have them reach out to the SPCA and see if there's anything they can do on their end. That's all I have.
Do you guys want to discuss the letter the borough received from Magnolia Point LLC? Or you want to wait for that when it comes up in the meeting? Did you guys, did everyone get a chance to look at it? Everyone look at it?
This one?
They're requested by,
You didn't get a copy of this?
they're requested by PennDOT to do this?
Well, no, so I'm just reading from the letter, it's that,
Oh, I don't have it.
Well,
so I'm working, so this is from Magnolia Point LLC, they said they were working with PennDOT for a highway occupancy permit for proposed driveway to Wyoming Avenue, my property which is owned by Magnolia Point LLC. Prior to the issuance of the HOP, PennDOT has required a no parking ordinance be instituted in the area of its driveway in order to preserve adequate site distance. That I'm requesting, the borough consider no parking ordinance requested by PennDOT. Proposed no parking will reside on the north side of Wyoming Avenue. The center line of the proposed driveway from Magnolia Point will be located at 619 feet from the center line of Shoulder Lane. No parking area will consist of 222 feet.
I thought there wasn't no parking ordinance there.
So essentially what this individual is looking for is no parking in front of his home so that he can get a highway occupancy permit from PennDOT. I'm assuming you all can get a copy of this, so what I would suggest is,
The only thing in the past was that we would, I mean, as long as it's not anybody's business, but in the past we would do that. I mean, that's why,
It's a residential area.
Walmart would come in because they wanted us to shut down parking from 3rd Street all the way down to 8th Street. There's no parking on the avenue, you know, it's not, I don't know if that's feasible for, that
How
was
many
feasible.
how many
for
feet
business.
is the,
but so I just got this and I'm kind of sending it out to you guys. So here's what I would suggest, that it didn't make it into your packet of information for this month, so that Roseanne, can you email it out to everybody? And then we can maybe ask for a little input from Daryl. What?
I sent it to you.
You said
I emailed it to you. I sent it to everybody. To look at it, and you said you put it on to discussion on.
Okay.
And that's what's in the go for
Yeah.
discussion, and then because you would have to do the ordinance. That's
Well,
what-
we'd have to, yeah, if we wanted to do it, so, but anyone looked at it to see how it affected the parking or the city or the city?
Jim, you went to, you
Yeah,
checked.
it's really, there is, nobody parks on the street down there. Not a high traffic parked area, let's say it that way.
Okay,
It's more or less down by Mirrors Farm. There's not really any, there's like one resident back this way, he has a huge driveway, he doesn't really, they're parked there, so it's really not, in my opinion, gonna affect parking.
is the individual from Magnolia Point here?
Right here.
Oh, Mr. Kane,
Yes.
okay. You want to tell us a little bit about this?
I'm looking to develop a piece of property there into some residential units, to get them on the tax rolls, and this has been a hurdle to get this driveway. And part of that is no parking.
Okay,
I don't have access to my property.
so this is the only way to get the highway occupancy permit is for the no parking right there.
So that's one of the criteria.
Okay,
It's been done in the past. Yeah, we've done it in the past. PennDOT requires so many feet for, for people to see coming out, so it's been done before.
okay.
how would we proceed? Make a motion to
So what we'd have to do is, because it'd be an ordinance for that area, we have to do the first reading and then the second reading. So if you guys wanted to proceed with this, someone would have to make a motion to do the first reading of the ordinance proposed, which Mr. King provided the sample one, which we would then look at and confirm that that's something that works for that area. And then if you guys wanted to do it, you approve the motion at the next meeting. You approve, just as you're doing the pay cut, at the following month's meeting. So it would be, first reading would be tonight, and the second reading would be at the May meeting. Did I get that right? Notes are kind of confusing here.
Is there a more efficient way to do this? I'm trying to get on with this project. I didn't realize it was going to be so cumbersome.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kane, but unfortunately for us to pass an ordinance, we have to do a first reading and a second reading. There's no other way for the municipality to pass an ordinance without doing that process.
Unless there was already an ordinance, no parking ordinance instituted, I'm not sure.
I believe there is, but I guess we'd have to research it to see if it's already there.
For the no parking ordinance would have to be for in front of that property already. If there was already one there, then we would have it and you wouldn't have to ask us to do one.
I don't have access to it. Is there a way to look that up to see if there's where these ordinances are? I know of two on Wyoming Ave. I don't know that one.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, we can go, well, Roseanne, you're the records, you can tell me, is there a way to go looking through the ordinance records to figure this out?
I can go through that new book, the book we have, but I know that Shannon also has a book that was supposed to be approved with the ordinances that we never got back. That was put together last year.
That guy died or something?
When it started, yeah, they put a new one for the approval, we pay a lot of money for that, and we never did. They were supposed to bring it back, and I'm guessing everything that's updated is in that book, so I don't have the access to it. And I did ask Shannon at
I
one
wonder if
point.
she has the access.
I'll reach out
Well,
to
they
her.
gave it to her to review, to make sure that it was okay.
So, Mr. Kane, the short answer is that before next month's meeting, we're not going to be able to have an answer for you anyway. So, well, if you want the quickest route, I mean, we can look for it next month, and if we can look for it prior to next month's meeting, and if there is an ordinance in place, we can let you know. And we wouldn't have to go forward with the second reading.
I appreciate it.
If there isn't, then we have to go do the first and second reading. And so, if you want us, I think the most efficient way for you to do it is to ask the council to do the first reading tonight.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for your consideration.
So I guess, yeah, it's up to council, yeah, if you guys want to add that motion to.
Yeah, we're adding. Anybody got any problems? I added it on.
No, I got it.
I just have one thing before we start the regular meeting. It's been a long time coming, but I think today is a very good day for Wyoming Borough, being that the Attorney General's office has requested information from the borough. We've all seen how this borough's been financially mismanaged, and now to see the Attorney General actually request a pretty itemized list of documentation. We actually get into certain things.
So, look, we don't know what they're doing, they've just asked for documents. I'm asking for the authority to turn them over. It's up to you on what you'd like to discuss further, but the Attorney General is not going to comment on the investigation. They're not going to give us any information of what they are investigating.
They're not, and they don't have to.
And I think anything that you assume outside of just, these are the documents that they're looking for is just an assumption. So, preferably, I think we leave it at, they've asked for it and we'll see what happens. But
Someone could submit a right to know what they wanted to for that information?
for this list,
Yeah.
they can submit a right to know. I'd have to look to see if it's covered, but, my advice to the borough is that, if it's covered by an exception, to not release it. If it's not, then you have to turn it over.
regardless, I think it's good for the borough that, you know, some of us up here have said for a long time that, you know, there's investigations and stuff wasn't done right, and some people have said, no, that's not true, and we're just, you know, BSing and not telling the truth. But the fact of the matter is, the Attorney General is not going to waste their time requesting information from our borough if there's not something there. So I applaud them for coming in and taking a look, and I hope if there is anything that is wrong and that someone or multiple people did wrong, I hope they're held accountable and that they get to serve their time where the Attorney General sees fit. But I think it's a good day for Wyoming Borough, being that they have reached out. And I actually also would obviously hope, and I'm sure council will, give them full access to whatever they ask for without forcing them to get a subpoena, do a grand jury, and really embarrass the residents even more than they have to. So I'm assuming council will do the right thing today and just vote yes to give them everything that they've asked for. But that's about all I have.
Everybody rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Weir?
Present.
Mr. Malone?
Present.
Mr. Lipsy?
President, and look at the beautiful sunset.
Isn't it gorgeous? I was taking a look at it. This smiles. Here. Mr. Scoggins?
Here.
Mr. Mars?
Present.
Mayor Downey?
Present.
All right, the meeting of, the minutes for the March 2019 meeting are available for review at the borough office. The minutes are, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Mr. Beloga,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Scalz. On the question, any questions? Ayes? Ayes have it, nays? Ayes have it. Officer report, reports of the police department, district commander, and code officer for the month of March 2019 have been submitted and placed on file for public record.
Are these your reports too?
Yeah, probably, yeah. One is,
Yeah.
the other thing's something they should discuss. I don't know if that's done tonight for that, community development hearing.
Have they been made aware of this one?
Yeah, it's
That's the,
been going on.
Okay. Do y'all, say your, I guess
that's his suggestions.
what, I mean, I guess they're all starting to see it, they're gonna see it here tonight, so when does action need to be taken on this?
What's the deadline for that?
Next month's meeting.
Next month's meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so Daryl, could you explain this, I guess, a little bit for us?
The borough solicited proposals for engineering for that CDBG project. However, they only received one proposal. So in accordance with federal regulations, they have to have at least two. So the second time, we have to re-advertise again, and the second time, if we don't receive one, then you could accept that one proposal.
This one's for, they have to pick some of the streets or the.
Oh, I think I'm talking about, oh, I'm sorry.
Community development.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was talking about something else.
Is that some sort of-
Yeah.
Thank you.
So they get every 2 years.
Just something to pass around to you guys. I suggested certain streets that he believes that need to be repaired by him going down. He wanted you guys to look at it before the decision.
Okay, but this has to do with, what, this has to do with the use of grant money, though.
They get it every 3 years, but it's limited, it has to be for low and moderate income thing, so they either have to pick those streets or we can do like handicap ramps, and then we don't have to do any surveys, you know.
So Lars, this is your CDBG money
Okay.
that comes to the county administration, and as you got a designated recipient, Union Borough. And it's the annual, it's about every 2 years.
Every 3 years.
And approximate amount.
Usually 130, something around there.
So it's $130,000 to be used for street repairs?
We used to be able to use it for paving, but paving has to be done in a low and moderate income area, but nowhere in the borough qualifies anymore for that. So to make streets qualify, we would have to go around and do surveys to every resident, which you don't know if it's gonna qualify at that point or not. So we might put all that time into it and it might not qualify. But if the borough decides to go the other option with the ADA handicap curbs, you know, throughout sections of the borough, we don't have to do the surveys, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So when do you need the borough to take action on deciding whether or not to survey or to go?
Well, you should do it as soon as possible, because it all depends on basically how long it's gonna take to do these surveys. It's probably gonna take a month or 2 months to go. So.
Okay, and who would do the surveys?
Well, Public Works probably department to do it. But then if we don't get residents' cooperation, it's like a waste of time.
So what if we, I mean, if you went through, because I didn't see that paper, was that a list of the streets which are the worst?
It's a list of streets that I recommend. Like Monument Ave, we can't do that, because if you did Monument, it's every street that leads into Monument, so you would have to survey the whole entire town, more or less. That's how that grant is set up.
So are there streets on there that are bad?
I put like 3 streets on there,
Okay.
you know, that I suggest, that might have a chance of passing.
Here's maybe what I would suggest, if next month's the month that they should act on it, maybe Roseanne, if you could circulate that to all council members to take a look at. And at next month's meeting, you guys should be prepared to give Jimmy direction on whether or not to start the survey process.
Can't we give you direction tonight to start the process?
Well, that's what I'm asking, do you want me to invest our time to do that?
No.
Or do you just want to go with the ADA handicap
If
ramps?
we went with the handicap ramps, how much would that cost us?
To do the whole borough, lots of money.
The whole borough end, or just not those?
No, you don't have to do it.
You only have whatever, $130,000 to work with, so you can do $130,000 worth of the ADA
Oh, I
ramps.
see.
I think
It's
what,
either paving the roads or doing the handicap.
Right,
No.
The paving of the roads, we probably won't qualify for.
yeah, you probably, the chances are you're not going to qualify.
Was it worth picking one of these and trying?
We could try, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, some of these that you have on here are pretty shot.
Oh, they're
So-
shot, I would love to get them paid, but I'm just saying, that's up to you guys, you want me to invest that time into it?
I think, that, I mean, if we sent something out and you said, you know, this street from here to here, I think the residents would be more than willing
Because we
to get
tried
us the
East
information.
Fork, we tried that years back to do East Fork, and it didn't qualify.
Did, okay.
I don't know, within the last 3 or 6 years, have things changed? I don't know.
I think it's worth a shot. I mean, you know, now that we have some extra manpower being out of West Wyoming,
I have no problem doing it,
I
I
think
just need some direction.
I think it's worth looking. I mean, if you have 3 streets here, so
Yeah,
I think it's worth looking into. I mean, all of them they have listed are pretty shot, so if we
yeah,
could,
it's,
if we're able to move some money around, and if an income survey comes back even 1 out of the 3, at least those residents in that
Right.
street could at least have, you know, that's up to you guys, but I would,
what's the likelihood, Daryl, that $130,000 would repave the entire one of these streets?
I don't think so, no. Pave
So,
all those 3 streets.
what?
It would pave all those 3 streets.
No.
so would you get 1 out of the 3?
We needed to. I don't remember which ones he picked.
well, just say East Fourth, we might get 2 blocks,
Yeah,
maybe the third.
basically about 2 blocks of what you can get
It's
done.
usually 2 blocks to get done out of it.
So what do you have on there? You have East 4th, Denison, 9th. So,
If they even qualify.
if they qualify.
If they qualify.
It doesn't hurt for him to do his work, it's just that you're using his time to do it. You know.
That and the cooperation, like I said, you need the residents to cooperate, and there's, you know, you're asking them for their income, people are not willing to give that.
Oh, that's what the survey is?
Yeah, income.
To check on their income, okay.
You have to be 100%.
50, I think 51% have to be in that low to moderate income.
Yeah, what they do is they kind of put it in 25 to 35,000, 35 to 50,000, 50 to 75,000, and you just mark what
It's
section.
based on how many people live in the residence.
But I think what the mayor was asking is, what's the resident cooperation level that you need?
So say you have a street with 10 houses, like Dennis or whatever, say
You
there's,
might get 3.
but would you then, like, how, do you need like 80%, 90%, or 100% cooperation to be able to go to them with a
There's
number?
a formula depending on how many houses are on that street.
Okay.
It all depends.
Okay. I don't know, I mean, the way I look at it is if we have any chance of getting a street paved in Wyoming, we should try to pursue it, but
To answer your question, Frank, there's nothing preventing you from acting tonight if you wanted to.
Okay,
Put it down and let them check on it, whatever.
good. All right, we'll get into committees, administration, finance, and grants. Mr. Skalts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion be made for the lease contract for 2017 Dodge Charger with Fulton Bank. Finance amount will remain the same as original lease, $34,738. Term is 2 years remaining on the original 3-year lease, 24 months. First lease payment, half of the original annual payment of $12,745.49 is due for April 5th. $6,372.75, 23 monthly payments. Annual lease payment changed to monthly payments, and the first payment due on 5/10 will be $1,373.94. There's a $300 fee to modify the lease term. Total payment due on 4/10, including the fee, would be $6,672.75. Motion will be made to authorize Attorney Buffalino to proceed with the defense of counsel in regard of such Susquehanna Realty suit. A motion will be made to approve the engagement letter with Procheck and Associates for the 2017 audit. And the multimodal transportation fund program grant for Wyoming roadway restoration project that the borough applied for was denied. Competition for the MTF funds was very strong and determined far exceeded the available funds. That's it in my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Skalts. Emergency services, Mrs. Smiles?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council will further discuss ambulance coverage for our residents and what is the best route for them at this time. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Smiles. Personnel, John Ritter, Mr. Lipsky?
I have nothing to report at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lipsky. Public property, Mrs. Smiles?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. There's no report at this time.
Frank, you missed
Oh, I'm sorry. The borough has received many donations from local businesses for the Easter egg hunt, and all businesses that have been donated will be recognized at the next meeting. And that is the end of my report.
Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped you, Mr. Lord, health and sanitation.
I have no report tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Streets and sewers, Mr. Skalts?
Magnolia Point LCC has been working with PennDOT to obtain a HOP permit for proposed driveway to Wyoming Ave. PennDOT has ordered a no parking ordinance to be instituted in the area of this driveway in order to preserve adequate site distance. Magnolia Point LLC has requested the borough to consider this no parking ordinance requested by PennDOT. And a motion will be made to pass the amended paved cut ordinance. That's in my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Skalts. Zoning and planning, Mr. Below.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no report on this.
Solicitors, okay.
I said everything during the work session.
Mayor's report.
I'm good, I said everything earlier.
Okay, the floor is open to the public. Mrs. Aquilina.
Okay, the reason for me to be here, I'm concerned about this garbage fee. I called many neighbors, community, and I have a list with me of the amount that I pay. West Vincent, they have a private housing, but Exeter, they pay $110. Okay? Kingston, they pay per bag of $2 a bag. Pringle, senior citizens, they pay $125, and their family $145. Sawyersville, they pay per bag $1.75. Recycling grass, $25 for the year. Western Wyoming, they pay $175. Larksville, they pay $180. Plains Township, 50 bags, $40. Laughlin, she's the most high because it's a little tiny borough, and they're not gonna go with a bigger truck to a hour. So I called the company to pay $240, but they are the only one. Pittston, 60 bags, $120. Juliet, $100. Believe it or not, music, $50. That's including their tax. Now, why is a senior citizen, like I say in January, I was here with a little shopping bag every week. I have to pay $190, and many other senior citizens like me with a very little low income.
Exactly. Our contract's up at the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken, with the garbage.
Put out
We're gonna put out, what do they call that?
a bid.
Bids, yes. We're gonna put out a bunch of bids. We're trying to get county waste, we'll try to get them, because we had a gentleman back here that, Mr., what's your name, I'm sorry? Yes. He made it known some of the rates that they had, and so that's one of the companies that, it's a possibility. I mean, we're gonna try to work hard on that to try to bring that rate down.
I mean, this is ridiculous. We started with the $90, 1998. And every year, the only goes up and up and up. The pension doesn't go up. The bills will go up.
Yeah. That county waste, when they came in with, they have that truck that takes the barrels. That saves them a lot of time. That's why they're able to charge lower rates.
You have to inquire what you want that's more comfortable for you to pay less as a senior citizen. It's ridiculous.
Right, yeah. Well, there's options. You could have one bag, one little container.
I have a little shopping bag.
Right, and county waste might
If
charge
we go by the
$8.
bags, I should have 2 bags for the year.
Well, we're gonna put that out for bid later on in the year.
You better talk it over.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna do like everybody else that used to do years ago. I'm gonna stop it. And then what? Somebody else is gonna pay for the garbage. Or just to trash it on the street.
We'll try to get that rate down as far as we can.
Well, I have to thank you, that was a nice, after 15 years, the Sweetway came into my street. 15 years to come and clean. Everybody tells me, Florence, you should be employed to the city. Ask the Jimmy knows, my curb is always clean, my street is always clean. Half of the street is clean. I plow half of the street to end with the snow. But this is not helping. I have medical problems, and I have to do it. Now, if they don't pay my bills when I'm in pain, I'm not paying a garbage that I don't have it. The only thing I have to trim my vegetable and fruit, everything I buy is deboned and skinless.
What did they tell you about the stormwater fee? Remember the
I
last time?
stole my water fee, that's a lie. I was told for 2 people from the councilman right here, either you pay the bill or you get shut off for the water. Ain't that nice? I called the water company. They said, nobody could do that, Miss Sabrina. Don't believe it. I went to the Wyoming Sewage Company, and not for just to get humiliated, because I live in this beautiful Wyoming that I made on my residence back in 1971, and I planned to stay here and not get humiliated and embarrassed if I don't pay my bill for the poop. Now, when we have this sanitation bill and maintenance bill, $200 a year. Just together because I left in the back. Just a moment, I'm not finished.
He got lowered to 50, or I hope he didn't get a $200 a year bill.
Oh, that's what it is, $200, it's gonna go down 50, I think,
Yeah.
I believe it when that happened. And I'm telling the truth, Jim. I believe it when that happened.
They don't go out there.
Now, back to 2012 to up to date, I paid $1,400 for maintenance of the sewage. What do they do with this money from our whole population in Wyoming? What's for?
Oh, that's the biggest problem. I mean, that's, you know, in
What
my
do we
opinion,
do?
that's why the AG is coming here.
Okay, I gotta tell you. We had a one beautiful gentleman here. Many years ago, we had one of my neighbors, every time it rained, her cellar got flooded. Time and time and time again. Why don't they put a drain right on the corner of Wyoming and 3rd Street? We have a clean hole there, but no drain. Hey, Mr. Lipsky tell you that was his mother's house. Water will reach to front of my house. My kids, they used to jump in the water because they enjoy the water after the rain.
We had a problem on,
Water, they can put a drain right there.
we had a problem like on 7th Street and Wyoming.
Huh?
We had a problem with water. One of the residents had a problem with their water. The water was, coming close to their house. And the engineer company from our town, they put a French drain in or something, and then they got water in the basement.
Well, you have to watch the foundation, that's one thing. But if you travel from Wyoming Avenue all the way to the house, past the alley, something is wrong with it because the water was this high. Oh, come on. Now, we don't want that to happen again.
If they're looking at paving that part of Wyoming Avenue, would they review drainage along that edge as well?
Probably not, no.
No?
No.
That's it, Mrs. Aquilina?
No, I have another thing to discuss. There was there was a grant of $500,000 a couple of years ago. And it was the pitch the next city, Wyoming, to do the sewage line. Where Wyoming, what are they doing?
That's the one I just asked him about.
We're
So
talking
that's,
about Jimmy. I have the paper right there on the
no,
chair.
but my question is, if there's a legitimate drainage problem and we're gonna be ripping up the roads, why would we not address it at that time?
Well, it's a PennDOT road, we asked PennDOT to look into it.
In Wyoming Avenue, right here. Well, at the meantime, this is all the money that we pay.
Yeah.
I start paying 2012 to last year,
The sewer fee.
$1,400. I could barely pay my medication, I paid for something that was never repaired.
Well, I mean, thankfully, we reduced it from 200 to 50. Unfortunately, the money was used for stuff it shouldn't have been used for.
Is our taxes gonna go up any time sooner?
They just did.
We paid the purple platter here and Wyoming sanitation that they said they were in cahoots with all of you here, that they said either we raise the tax or we pay the bill for the sewage, the storm water. I understand that there was something going on between the people from the storm water, Wyoming Valley, and the councilmen all here in Wyoming, that they say either we're gonna get one way or the other. The Wyoming City Hall, they said, well, I don't know how we're gonna do it. And Wyoming Valley said, well, we'll do this way so we don't have to say to all the residents in Wyoming to raise their tax. One way or the other we're gonna get. Now, as far as going to the stormwater, now they open it back. When I look at it in the fall, all the leaves they're falling off and nobody picks up. All the little helicopter in the spring, they're falling and they go in the drain. Germination they come up, they form a little tree in the sewage line. And on the waste of water, Now, this I recall, there was a 7 choo-choo train full of debris. Now, if the screens, whatever you call it, that go in the drain, why they're so big, all the leaves, everything else, it goes in there. Of course they're gonna germinate in the dark. The roots from the tree, I watch every community, I stop, slow down and look and I go, uh-oh, storm water, a tree. Storm water, a tree. Don't they know how many feet to the tree, the roots there alone and where they're going? They're gonna go in the choo-choo train again. What, they are imbecile?
All right, Mrs. Ackland.
I mean, I speak, Frank. No, it's a thing that it has to be done with the people that have a knowledge. We're not stupid. We are very smart people. You have to come out and say, first of all, the sewage company should remove it. If you don't want to have the problem, every tree in the valley. You want to do that? Then you have no problem.
Do you have a problem with a drain in your house?
It cost me $600, Janet, a couple
Call the
years ago.
stormwater.
I remove my
Listen,
trees.
call the stormwater company and tell them to do it because they're supposed to do it.
Well, guess what? I'm not done. Not tonight. Tonight I'm done. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Ackland. You got a report for the host company?
Yeah. Yeah, just a report of the activity from Host Company 1. We had 11 incidents for the month of March. We assisted EMS twice in Wyoming. We had 2 residential structure fires, 1 furnace malfunction, 1 public assist where we picked up some trash off the road, 1 unfounded. We had 2 commercial fire alarm activations in Wyoming and 1 in Exeter. So we had a total of 10 calls in town and 1 in Exeter. We also received a grant to purchase a rescue tool for our engine. So we'll have capability to extricate very shortly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tom, can we get a copy of that? If you don't mind, so we can get it.
Sure.
Thank you. Is it okay to keep this?
Yep.
Thank you.
Chris, so we got you, so you have anything else to say? No. Joey Serino? No. Tammy?
Good evening. All right, so I want to discuss about, recently moved into Colonial Acres back in November, back into Wyoming, stomping ground. So I'm having problems with, and it's not just me, it's the other residents who kind of sit on the backside of, I'm on Colonial Court. So behind that area there are railroad tracks that are no longer being used. I had 3 calls into the police within the last 2 weeks. There are numerous ATVs, motocross bikes, and they're all riding in back of a residential area. It's becoming, Saturday I counted 13. Now even just this evening, within the last hour, there were 3. They're ripping through there. And then they go down into, I guess they call that the Stite Street Park. I think it's in West Wyoming, Slap Park, I think the sign says. And that's all prohibited. The signs are out there, it says no ATVs, no motocross, none of those are allowed in there. So they come right behind the properties there and go down into that park. Now there used to be a lock apparently on that gate, and that has been cut off. And so they rip across that park, where they're also prohibited, and then they'll rip back up, and they go into whatever town they belong in. And I did call the police. They're going through all hours. I'm talking 10:30, 11:30 at night, 12:30 at night. Now, I mean, it's loud. I would never have guessed that would be there, because a beautiful backyard, and I love my outdoor space. And then when that's there, I'm like, I need sound barriers or something. I mean, it's that bad. It's like shocking. And there's a lot of foot traffic back there coming from all
Train
towns.
tracks aren't used anymore, right?
No.
They're just,
Right.
do we know who owns those? Just out of curiosity.
I forgot.
Who owns the gate? Like, did they unlock it, or did they cut it at the same?
Check gates in West Wyoming, and West Wyoming would have a problem, they keep putting locks on the gate, and they keep cutting the locks, it's an ongoing.
Could you guys get with West Wyoming and try to?
Yes, sir, I've actually just approved several of the reports, I've read them, and we know about the problem, and unfortunately, it's difficult to get back there, but we're gonna see what we can do about up in the patrols in the area, and talking to Chief Nocera from West Wyoming.
Yeah, because if they're cutting through and ending up in West Wyoming in that park,
Well,
it sort of like funnels them in, right?
That's kind of the problem, and they can go one side into Wyoming and the other side into West Wyoming, and we're talking about.
All the way down.
Yeah.
They go,
tracks
I
all the
think
way
it
down.
goes all the way down. And there's a lot of foot traffic too there, which is surprising. And like they're going up to my fence and pulling my trees and breaking branches, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm like flabbergasted. I'm like, I can't believe this. Where do I live? I feel like I live right in downtown and everybody's walking to the back of my yard. It was kind of shocking, because that's a nice development. I would never have guessed that.
Doesn't the county have something to do with that spur under the rail line?
I don't know.
They do, they're switching it from rails to trails, they're gonna make a walkway of the whole west side. I was at a meeting with them, they're going to, with the levee system, where the train tracks were, they're gonna fill that in. Every so often, there's gonna be 3 sets of poles, so that the bikes and the ATVs can't go through there. That's all in the planning stages, they're just waiting to get funding for it. That's going to be rails to trails from the whole west side. So, and that is in the works with them.
Is that where the railroad track is?
Yes.
It's gonna go all the way to West Wyoming?
It's going to go from West Pittston down to Kingston, I think, is what their plan is.
I don't know if that's good or bad. That doesn't sound good, because the traffic, even the foot traffic coming through isn't too good, and there's a lot of littering going on. I don't know what can be done, but it's kind of disappointing to move into a nice community and that's happening. I know I seen your message on Facebook. I don't know if you got it.
When you send it.
Saturday? Yeah, because I just wanted to know what's going on.
Yeah, I was out of town this week, and if stuff like that, send it right to the boroughs, because
I
that's.
didn't know who to call.
Okay.
When I called in, they told me I had to come to the meeting.
Even if we could put signs over there, no ATVs and all this.
Well, there has to be something, because see, nobody patrols that. I mean, they're welcome to come sit in my backyard in that little cutway. I don't care, they catch them all day long there on the weekend. So, but,
We'll get with West Wyoming and try to figure something, even if it's
We
just.
have to
getting-
coordinate something, I agree, Mayor, yeah, we'll do that.
I mean, can't they just block that gate off totally? Like,
Have to
why
find
is
out who owns
there?
it, or what, if it needs to have access for
That's-
emergency.
It says slap park on it, but there is posted right in front of the park. I took pictures of it. No ATVs, no motorbikes, nothing like that. They're going through, ripping through that park. I can't imagine, there's another taxpayer thinks this, they don't fix that up. So, I don't know, I would like something done, because like I said, at night, sometimes I'll sit outside my property, and I put the spotlights on, and then they'll take off. So, it's kind of a little bit scary
Yeah.
when they're sitting out there like that. My dogs are going nuts when they go into that.
Thank you. AJ?
I'll separate the area from me too.
We just wanted to let the borough know, we did get the letter about the donations for the businesses for the Easter egg hunt. Between our fire department and our members, we did purchase 4 small bites. We do have them in the back room if anybody wants to see them for the Easter egg hunt. We did also get about 150, 120 chocolate bunnies that we're going to be donating to for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to recognize Officer Chris Bergovich for also helping out, because I've been working with him very well, me and my wife, as far as getting all these bunnies and making sure they're turned in. So, Officer Chris, I want to make sure he's recognized for it too.
Thank you.
You're the one who put it together.
Can I say something really quick? We've been getting in so many donations for this Easter egg hunt. It's unbelievable, the response we're getting, and it's so nice. It's gonna be a really nice egg hunt for the children. We're gonna have a lot of nice prizes, and everybody's been really wonderful with helping out and donating. We really appreciate it. We're gonna have a nice event for the families, and we're gonna try to continue to do more for the families of the borough too. We'll look into other things that we can start doing, maybe movies in the park at night with popcorn and hot dogs and drinks. I think that'll be really nice for the families. Other boroughs do those things, and I've been to a couple of other boroughs, and I really enjoy it with my children, so it's nice to do stuff like that. Everybody comes together, and you get to know everybody a little bit better in the community. So thank you. Thank you for everything.
Well, thank you recognize for Roseanne too, she's put in a lot of time for this, an awful lot of work.
No, this is all, you've
Officer
taken the lead with
Rich
this.
took a lot of stuff to the businesses for me. Jim's taken stuff to businesses, Mary. I go and visit, and I get the joy of doing it because I've been doing it for years for the schools. I was in charge of it, and I missed it because my kids are grown now and I can't do it, but now I'm all excited because it's going to be great. I'm really excited about this. Thank you.
It's impressive. She has a full room back there.
Yeah,
like-
Jim can't even walk in his office. Every time he goes in, he falls over stuff.
Okay, a list of communications received since the last month's meeting have been presented to council. You need a motion to accept. Motion by Mr. Scalz. Second by Mrs. Smiles. On the question? Ayes? Ayes have it, so ordered. I need a list of bills to be paid have been received have been presented to council. I need a motion to accept the bills. Motion by Mr. Beloga.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Scalz. On the question? Hearing nothing on the question, ayes?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Change the first motion.
Sure.
Do you need a motion, all right?
Yes.
All right, so the first one, motion to be made to approve the modification of lease contract terms for the 2017 Dodge Charger Fulton Bank and approve the resolution regarding the modifications.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Beloga,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Lipsky. On the question? Hearing nothing on the question, I have ayes. No nays. Ayes have it, so ordered. I need a motion to authorize Attorney Buffalino to proceed with the defense of the borough and council in regards to Susquehanna Realty suit. Motion made by Mrs. Smiles. Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Scalz. On the question? Have any ayes? Ayes, no nays? Ayes have it. I need a motion to approve engagement letter with Protrac and Associates for the 2017 audit. Motion by Mr. Beloga,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Scalz. On the question? Hearing nothing on the question, I need a yes or no, ayes? Ayes, no nos? Ayes have it. I need a motion to approve the amended pave cut ordinance.
I'll make one.
Motion by Mr. Scalz,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Smiles. On the question? Hearing nothing on the question, I have ayes. Ayes, no nays. I need a motion to turn over to the AG's office the questionnaire that they need. Could I have a motion on that?
I'd ask the motion to approve Roseanne and myself to cooperate with the request of the Attorney General's office and provide them the records they have asked for and other future records should they ask for them.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Beloga,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Lipsky. On the question? Hearing nothing on the question? Ayes? Ayes have it, so ordered. Need a motion to update CFA multi-modem grant?
I'll make that.
Motion by Mr. Scalz,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Smiles. On the question? I have ayes. Ayes have it. I need a motion to proceed with the ordinance for Magnolia Point.
I'll make that.
This would be the first, the motion for the first reading of the no parking ordinance for the Magnolia Point LLC project.
I'll make the motion. I'll second that motion.
Well, there's motion by Mr. Scalz, so you second.
Okay.
On the question? Hearing nothing on the question? Ayes? Ayes, no nays? Ayes have it. That's it. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Beloga, I need a second. Second by Mr. Scalz.